Evening, everyone. I hope everybody's safe, doing great. And yes, we are back with another episode of samosachai.net with our super host Vivek and Nish. Hello.
Hello. I'm doing amazing today. How about you, Vivek?
All good.
Rashmita was already excited, so I knew that she is doing really, really good.
Yeah.
Yes, super
I mean,
excited.
I think this one will be a special
It's a
samosa
very
chai,
special
right?
episode. Yeah, that's true.
So
Um,
why
yeah,
don't
so
we go
Yes,
before we get started? Rashmita, just go through the
yes. I'll just take
code of
two
conduct for the show.
minutes. Yes. Let me just share the code of conduct. You all know the drill. So, yes, please read our code of conduct. We are all here to learn together. So, please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, being kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. With this, I'll just, ask Vivek and Nish to lead the session.
Anish, so what are we
fantastic.
doing today? Happy
We
birthday. Celebrating birthday.
we're celebrating birthdays. We're celebrating. Actually, it's a birthday month, I would say, because we celebrated .NET in 20 years on 14th of February, which was great. And if you guys have not seen that event, you should go and check that out. It was really amazing. A lot of people talking about their experiences with .NET. Really amazing how like old the community is, but yet so vibrant and so amazing with to build modern apps with .NET, right? So Vivek, I know that you are pretty new to the .NET community, but so why don't we
Yeah, I
go
mean,
ahead?
I no, I when I was an engineering student, yes, I was learning .NET. Like I used to have that CD. There
Mhm.
used to be a CD, right, of .NET, right? So I used to have that, and I used to install it on my. I mean, not on my laptop, but in a college lab or something. We have
Uh-huh.
done that before, but not really after becoming a professional. Being in different programming languages. But I'm back on .NET with .NET 6.
Fantastic. I'm so happy that we were successfully being able to get you back into .NET and keep you excited here. But what is more exciting for me today is that we have amazing set of community people today who are joining us. So it's a slight detour from our usual talks. I know you all have joined to talk about handling. I mean, listen us talk about handling failures in the modern cloud native .NET apps. We will go through that, but before that, because we're celebrating this amazing month of 20 years, I want to bring in from people who are highly experienced in .NET to the most recent people who have joined .NET community. So let's bring them in. What do you say, Vivek?
Yes, I'm super excited. Bring them
All
all.
right, let's get them. Here we go. Hello, hello,
Hello, everybody. Hey,
hello.
Nish.
Fantastic. So lovely faces. It's so nice to
Hello.
see so many boxes in Samosa Chai. It's been just me and Vivek and Rashmita doing the show for a quite long time now. But today we have this amazing set of people. So before you all can see the names on the screens, but I would go over and ask everyone to explain, who you are, what you do, and your experiences with .NET, and that's what we want to do right now. So let's start with the most senior person that I know today. That is Mayur. So hello, Mayur. Tell us what.
Hi.
Yeah.
I
How are you?
hope you can hear me.
Yeah, you sound fine.
Thanks, man. Yeah, you just broke my heart by saying I am the oldest guy here. But
I didn't say
yeah,
you
it's
are old. I say
He's
you're
the
old.
senior most person.
Senior
senior
most.
most.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a pretty good journey, yeah. Pretty long and good and happy and amazing journey with .NET. I remember when I was in college, I was learning VB6. I was just getting used to VB6. I was building some simple applications for my mom, for my friends. And then all of a sudden, one of my friend came in. Hey, Mayur, there is a new version of Visual Studio is coming up. It's like, I guess, okay, which one it is? Like, it's like 2002. I was like, okay, there is no 7, 8, 9, 10, or whatever. It's like 2002. Okay, and .NET. And there is a new framework 1.0. I was like, okay. I guess there were like 6 CDs that,
Mhm.
you have to install one after the another. So I assembled a desktop, installed everything, and I like first I built a simple Windows application. Then I built a ASP.NET application. And that time I used to host it on my server itself. So it was a dial-up connection, but I wanted to have my own website. So
Mhm.
uh, the IP address, it keeps changing, but still you can still access it outside if you have it open. So I install IIS and all that. Since then, it has been a crazy journey, man, crazy journey. So uh, I got into the community.
We can say
So
that by looking at your gray hairs now, because when I
yeah.
saw you, when I met you before, you were
Wait,
very
you
young.
haven't seen my tummy, man. Just sitting in front of the PC and hitting the mechanical keyboards. So yeah, but it was fun. So when I came to Pune, I joined this amazing group called Pune User Group. It's a community. I guess we started in 2003. Since then, we are running it successfully. Almost every month, we are having some events. Every year, we have developer conferences, SharePoint event. When Azure came up, we started with Azure Developer Conference, Azure Conference as well. What I have seen is through this .NET community, right? It's like a boomerang for me. So when I
Mhm.
was in my college, I was doing my final year project. There was a guy, my guy in Microsoft, Sarang. He used to help me out, whenever I had any question about .NET, and he used to, I remember I once called him from the PCO by putting a 1 rupee coin, and he's like, yeah, this ये नहीं चल रहा है, this is not working. So he's like, you should look at the stack trace and debug it. So you're like debugging on phone, and I did it, and I now feel that when I was in college, he was helping me out. So it's my responsibility to help others who are in college. So I become part of the PUG, and since then, yeah, it's fantastic. I got my first job, second job, never imagined that I will get into Microsoft, work with people like you, Vivek, right?
Yeah,
And
you should say what you do at Microsoft. You work for Microsoft,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So this is my second stint at Microsoft, by the way. So
Yeah,
I was part of the Xamarin team. I worked with Nish. It was a fantastic experience. We became a very good friends. Then Xamarin got acquired. We both become part of the .NET team, Visual Studio team, and I was looking at the SDKs back then. Then I moved to Microsoft Singapore. There I was part of the sales team, and there also we had the Singapore user group, MSSUG. So I was lucky enough to to have friends over there. They invited me. I also asked for, hey, can I have a session over there? Typical
yeah,
community guy. So and then I came back and joined Microsoft again, and now I'm working as customer engineer in the fast track team, helping people onboard on Azure, as Nish says always, right? Helping
yeah.
people spread love about .NET. I help people spread out love about Azure or cloud.
Nice.
Uh, and there itself, I got to know about Swami as well. I got to know about
Yeah,
Yeah.
Anuraj as well from Vivek.
Yeah.
He was writing blogs, and Vivek is like, hey, we have some blogs going to read. Yeah, definitely, why not? I met Swami, I guess, couple of times in Bangalore, and
Yeah.
hoping to meet him once again when I will travel to Bangalore again. So yeah,
Yes.
that's pretty much, man.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that if I start the 20-year journey down the memory lane with the senior-most person, it would probably take really
Go on for
long for
20.
because 20 years of experiences.
Yeah.
We really love you, Mayur, and we really love what you do in the community. I know PUG has been really successful in running the user groups, and it's one of the most successful .NET user groups in the country as well. So yeah, I'm glad I met you, and we got to work with each other, with others. Like as you said in Xamarin. So fantastic. So I'll quickly move to Anuraj. Hey, Anuraj. So welcome and
Hey,
help us understand what you do.
okay. So, as Mayu said, I started my okay. I'm working as a architect in a startup in Kochi, Kerala. Around 2006, I started writing blogs, and in 2010, I met someone like Sri Jumun. He was running a user group called Kerala Microsoft Users Group. I was like Mayu said, I was also interested to contribute back to the community because like when I was started there was no resources, so I started writing blogs, what was my experience, what all things I did, I learned, or so that I can help others. Same thing happened because in Kerala, compared to Bangalore or Mumbai, the uh, events were very less that time. So Srijuan was running a community called Kerala Microsoft Users Group. I joined. Then uh, at later point of time, I was one of the core leaders of that team, and yeah, still we are running it. And recently I worked with Vivek and all. There is a Azure developer community we started in Kochi, so I am leading that as well. Yeah,
Fantastic.
that's it about my experience
Yeah.
with
Yeah, I
.NET.
mean,
You forgot to
I've
mention
seen.
about your blog, yeah?
I was about to
You've
say
been
that.
writing blogs from 2006.
Yeah. Okay. So, I started as most of the .NET guys I know. I started as a VB6 developer. Then I switched to. I couldn't work on .NET 1. I started on 1.1, and in 2005 I got certified. Then I in 2006 I started writing blogs. I started in WordPress. Then I changed to GitHub. Yeah, that's it. That's it about
Fantastic.
my.
Yeah, I mean, Anurag's blog is one of the very popular blogs in .NET, and we often bring his blog in the .NET community stand-ups as well. So, and this, by the way, Anurag, you're the first person whom I have met who has a Twitter handle with the first name. It's very rare to get that kind of. So, congratulations and
Yeah.
thank you for being part of the .NET community. We really
Yeah.
appreciate what you do. It's
Thank you.
fantastic. So, with that, I will move on to Swami. Hey, Swami, what's up, man?
Hey Nish, I'm doing good. How are you guys doing? Super excited to be
Fantastic.
here in this show. Thank you so much for hosting us, Nish. Yeah,
Yeah.
my .NET journey goes back to 2006 when I was in college. I had a choice to go and learn something new. So I was given a choice to learn either .NET or Java. I was somewhat fascinated with the name .NET, so I thought, okay, I'll go and learn .NET, right? And then I started going to a training center and then started learning .NET, where it started with .NET 1.1. And then at that time, they were trying to upgrade it to .NET 2. And 2005, Visual Studio 2005 was launched, and then they did that upgrade, and then I started from there. Then I used .NET for my college projects, where everyone else was doing in C++, C, and things like that, right? And then I kind of liked that, and when I jumped into the industry, I think I was fortunate to start my career with Nish. We both worked worked together in my previous companies, and then inspired by him, I also started loving .NET more, and he is the one who introduced me to the community as well. So I've been part of the .NET community, which is B.NET Bangalore .NET user group since 2011. I've been participating in all the events, and for the past 5-6 years, I've been organizing events as well. Yeah, one good thing I like about .NET is the vibrant community and the ecosystem and the kind of help what we get from each and everyone, be it any kind of issues or any kind of feature requests and things like that. It's pretty vibrant. You don't have to really worry about any kind of support, so which is pretty cool. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
currently work as a cloud solution architect. So my focus has switched slightly more into Azure side, but still, yeah, I love .NET. So all the POCs and anything I want to do, I kind of build everything in .NET now.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Swami is someone who runs another popular user group, B.NET, which is Bangalore.net, and also runs X Hackers, which is a Xamarin user groups. So yeah, he's been a pillar of support for a lot of community and members and who have actually learned and adapted .NET in their projects. So thank you, Swami. And because we are running out of time, I'll quickly move into, hey, Vaishali, tell us what who you are and what you do.
Yeah, hi everyone. So yeah, I don't have that much experience, but yeah, I have around 7 years experience working in .NET. So I started with .NET MVC directly, not any framework. Not the normal form web forms. So I started with .NET MVC, and yeah, currently I got introduced to community by Nish. So I'd really like to thank Nish for that. And yeah, currently I'm just maintaining the docs and the .NET architecture related, like eShop on containers and stuff
Yeah. So
under Nish's guidance. Yeah.
yeah, so Vaishali works in my time, and she focuses on the very popular samples called eShop on Containers, which is again open source sample on .NET architecture repo. So if you haven't, I mean, everything that we do as part of Samosa Chai so far with the cloud native microservices, that is the that is the code that Vaishali maintains. She takes. I mean, if you've seen the GitHub repo, you will see her comments and how she addresses issues. And one of the reasons why today's module, the handling partial failures, we are able to successfully run today is because Vaishali has given us the green flag to go ahead and do this module, because she does the entire flow and tests it before even we get to do this live. Because doing live is always tricky. So yeah, Vaishali makes sure that everything. I think the last time when we did learn live, we hit a Linkerd issue where she jumped in and she helped us fix that. I think about 2 days before we went live. So so Vaishali is amazing. She does a lot of amazing stuff on the .NET Architecture repo. So with that, hey Aditya, welcome. You're the youngest member. I said him senior, the Mayur, and I'm going to tell you the youngest member in the .NET community. Tell us about you.
Thanks a lot for having me, Nish. When I thought I was young, I didn't realize how
How
young
young?
I was gonna be. So, hi everyone. I am Aditya. I am currently still a full-time student, about to graduate in May. Um, and yeah, I do developer relations at AppWrite, which is an open source backend as a service platform. I've been playing around with .NET for about 1.5, 2 years or so. I started playing around through a very cool program Microsoft has for students, which is the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors. I've been a part of that for the last 2 years. I came across .NET through there because one of our program milestones was to complete a path on Microsoft Learn. And incidentally, the one I happened to choose was on UWP applications.
Nice.
Um, and I'm actually really, really excited to know that we've got so many people here who've been around Xamarin, because the next thing I ever did was start playing around with Xamarin during hackathons and just building projects on my own. Um,
Fantastic.
and
Yeah.
that's why I started falling in love with and enjoying working with .NET, because it's only through these that I got glimpses of how powerful it could be. So
Yeah.
with .NET Core 3.1, Xamarin, .NET 5, that's where I did quite a bit of work. I worked extensively with web APIs, ASP.NET Web APIs, and I did a lot of Azure Functions work, primarily for hackathons, my own projects, within for my internships as well. There was one internship I did, which was 2 months of just .NET. And to be quite honest, I started playing around with .NET at a time where, even though I was pursuing my degree in computer science, and this is still very, very early in my career that I recognize, I was at a point where I felt like I might as well give up on coding, looking at a lot of the pressure and the races around careers. And I think building with .NET kind of kept me hanging on. So that's why it's been very special for me, to be honest,
Nice.
to continue working and just be here with you all.
Nice. I mean, it's very lovely to hear that that you are enjoying .NET, and you're doing a lot of things, because I think in the community, or generally in the younger community, there's a feel that .NET is still a closed source, it's a Windows only, and things. And a lot of things have changed. Like we can build
That's
apps
so
on
true.
Mac, we can build on iOS, we can build on Android. So it's really amazing that the youngest member have all good opinions about it. That means we are still doing everything right. So thank you for all those feedbacks. All right, I think now for all the viewers out there, I know we have we have taken a little bit of more time this time talking about .NET and the beautiful people who make .NET. So we've been talking about .NET celebrations like 20 years, and it's a lot. So we invited a lot of community members, and I'm hoping that all these community members will come back to Samosa Chai and do a session on their own with us in the near future, hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to that. And with that, I'm going to tell byes to each of you, and then we'll continue with our session. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
the
for
Thank
joining
invite.
Thank
you.
in.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Nish. Bye bye.
All right. So
Yes.
Vivek, let's get back to our series. What are we
Yeah.
talking today?
And you know, basically, you know what? I texted Aditya at 1:30 a.m. that
Mhm.
would you like to join, and he replied back to me at 3:30 a.m. Like we both are both needs rest, I believe. Both are
1:30 in the night.
messaging at 1:30 in the night, and he replying back to me at 3:30 in the morning. Funny. Cool. And so okay, today, so we are going to talk about you know basically how we can build a when partial failures happen in the system, how to handle this, from a .NET perspective, from a code perspective, from an infrastructure perspective. Just a recap, what we have done until today. So we did introduce to microservices. What is microservices? And then we saw what are the tools which are required to build this microservice, and also we had a discussion around Kubernetes and other things. And last session which we did was amazing, right? It was about adding a new service to the ecosystem of that is already existing microservices, and then we deployed it to Kubernetes. It's very similar to how you deploy something in production. So that's the recap of what we have done until today. So if you want to catch up, people, just go to the YouTube channel which we have. Rashmita is going to post that link as well, so you can go back and view those sessions as well. Uh, from a recap perspective as well, we did launch Cloud Skill Challenge. So Nish, when I say Cloud Skill Challenge, it's not like you go and take challenge and you win something. It's about you challenging yourself to learning these things. So even I am participating in this. So I have completed 5 modules myself, and
Wow.
obviously there are rest of the modules which are there. I'm just we just need to complete that, and I have 64 days to complete it. So go back to this specific link which we have, and or the QR code. Just take it and take your time. Yes, every session you attend, you'll see the days coming down, so you can see that we have until April 30th. So make sure you start working on it and challenge yourself to complete these modules. So that's what Cloud Skill Challenge is all about. Okay, Nish, so let's deep dive into today's session. So what are we learning?
Y- Yeah. So when we talk about cloud, I mean, we are talking about a lot of moving services or microservices. They're connecting with each other. They're working with each other. So the important aspect there is to how do you handle failures, right? How, especially when things are distributed in nature, you need to be. I mean, it's not about kind of like removing failures or or decreasing failures, but it's more about how do you be more resilient when the failure happens. How do you make your app to be more be tolerant, right? So we are going to look at some of the foundational resiliency concepts in that, and we will look at a general we'll observe how does an app work without implementing resiliency features, and then we look at how it works. And when we implement resiliency, we'll look at two things. One is how do we do that with code, and the other is also how do you build resiliency using an infrastructure. And both have its own pluses and minuses. So depending on the projects that you're going to work with, you can change those strategies accordingly. So I know we lost a lot of time in this, but I think we have like enough packed content in terms of this the demos that we're going to do. So we may jump a little bit out of our regular time to finish, but if you're in a hurry, you can come back to the same link again later on, and you can watch the entire module later. So we'll try our best to do it faster, but at the same time, we'll explain those concepts as well. So yeah, Vivek, let's go next.
Yeah, so it's basically what you just said, right? So introduction to the problem statement for today is we do have we did build the coupon service in the last session, and what is happening now is users are facing problem when they type in the coupon, and there is some kind of errors which they are getting, and it is frustrating the users. So we just want to make sure that we help them fix that. So we are supposed to build a resilient, so partial failures which is happening in the system, which is basically, it could be a network issue, it could be moving your containers to another node, or something which is happening at the back end, where it is just a momentary service is not responding. So you just want to make sure that you give it a time to respond. So that is what the problem statement is, and that's what we are going to solve. Before getting into that, do you want to spend some time, Nish, on this? I mean, like very brief
Yeah.
time, because we have been talking about this.
Yeah, so we have explained this E sharp and containers architecture in detail in the previous sessions that we did already. So I'll make this quick. We have like bunch of microservices out there, and you can see that there's identity, catalog, ordering. They're all on your right side of the screen. They're all independent microservices, and we use Dockers to build these microservices as container images, and then they run on Kubernetes cluster. And if you look at each microservice has its own databases, and the way they communicate with each other, sometimes they need to connect with each other on service to service communication, and sometimes they are actually on a asynchronous platform. Even though they are on an asynchronous platform, they would be connecting to a service bus as an external dependency, right? And it also has API gateway, nothing but an entry point to your application. So clients like mobile clients and web clients can connect back into a single infrastructure endpoint, and then from there on, the API gateway can actually decide and send those requests internally to other microservices, right? We also have an aggregator here. So aggregator is nothing, as the name says. What it does is it basically it can with a single request from your, for example, a mobile client, it can make multiple requests to multiple microservices, because sometimes when you're in your mobile app, the real estate is really small. You may have to work with a basket service, an order service, and a customer service, and you have to get data from multiple services in. So instead of making 3 different requests, you go through the API gateway, and then the aggregator will actually make these 3 requests for you, and probably even cache the data sometimes, stock prices and things like that. If you want to cache, it can do all those things, and then it'll respond back to you immediately with a one single request. The interesting thing about this is, because even these aggregators run within these clusters, they will have to work with every other service too. So that means the chances of failures are going to impact the business. So there could be transient failures. So we are only talking about the transient failures here, most importantly, because especially if you're on a Kubernetes cluster, pods are moving. There's a new pod you're deploying. There is a brief off time, or maybe something is wrong in your code and just keeping on crashing. So there are some transient errors that can happen. And how do you kind of like handle those errors when that kind of thing happens within service to service communications, or even a client making a request to the backend? So we'll look at how to implement that in this infrastructure, right, Vivek?
Yes, this is what we have. So quickly, let us review the concept behind this. I know what we are doing today. So basically, um, as I told you, right, there could be, you could have multiple services, and there might be a service dependency. Say you invoke a service, and it goes through different set of services to get the response. And one of the service might not respond because of various reasons, right? Whether a container is moving from one node to another node, or maybe there is a network issue, or there is a hardware failure, and there is a chances of bringing that particular service up through the infrastructure management and whatever tools you're using. But you will have to give it a time to respond. So that is where if you keep sending request to such service where it is not responding, or there is some issue, there's a load which gets created on that service, and that service might get blocked for a longer period. So even if you take a dependency of 10 to 15 services, and each of these services have 99.9% SLA, that is equal to an hour or 2 hours of downtime if the services are failing. Niche. So that is where you need to build these kind of different resiliencies strategies to solve the problem, where you add couple of strategies in terms of how do you recover from these partial failures, and how you make it seamless for the users from a usability perspective as well. So we will go through the 2 approaches, right? One is from a code, and one is from an infrastructure. We will see both the approach. We will do the live demos for both the approach. So we'll go through that. So uh,
Sorry about that.
so these are 2 exercises we're going to do.
Yeah, so we're gonna
honest.
we're gonna implement code-based resiliency and the other infrastructure-based resiliency. So I think we can quickly go into the module, and then we can start executing some scripts. So if you're new to this, basically this is also part of the Cloud Skill Challenge. So you can go through this module as we are doing it, do it yourself, answer questions, and it can complete the challenge really quickly. So what we do here is basically whatever eShop and containers that we saw, it's an e-commerce application. So it's the infrastructure that I mentioned before. So that's going to set up for you by default. So if you copy the script and paste it into your Azure Cloud Shell, and that's going to execute and then set it up for you, right? So
Here
if
it is.
you see there, yeah. So now as soon as you complete that, so that's your Cloud Shell. So when you go to the Cloud Shell and you copy that and paste that, it will set up everything. And you see that there's a public IPs there, 104.42. And those are the URLs that it's automatically sets it for you, and it also sets up the code for you as well. So if you go into that URL, can you just cat the deployment URLs so that so this environment setup is going to take a little bit of time because it needs to wire up a lot of things, and sometimes it takes about 10 minutes, sometimes it can take about 30 to 40 minutes, so depending on how busy Azure gets, right? So once it is done, if in case you disconnect from the Cloud Shell while doing so, you can actually go and say cat deployment URLs in that directory, and you should be able to get these URLs again. And you can click on that public IP, and the first thing to do is to go and check the web status of it. So that's the health checks UI. We did an entire session on adding a coupon health check, and so again, part of the resiliency strategies is to do a proper health monitoring of your system. So we talked about that in the previous session. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a partial failure and show you when that partial failure is enabled, how the app responds now, and then how it will respond when it does not have an implementation of managing the resiliency. So we look at both those scenarios, right? So yeah, you can go ahead and show the eShop and containers demo, Vivek. So
Yeah.
that's the e-commerce app.
So this is the magic script. This is the magic script. Basically, you should just run it. So one thing which I just want to point out here is this specific magic script. You need to understand this also installs this linker DCLI. I'll come to that later, but just keep this in mind that this also installs the CLI for Linkerd. Okay, Linkerd is a service mesh. We will talk about it. Okay, let's show them. The e-cart. How they can purchase. They can go and purchase now, and just share their credit card details, and we will be able to share them.
Ship
I'm
it
just
to
joking.
them. Yeah. So he's totally joking. This is just a demo site and doesn't do any shipping. So this is basically a simple e-commerce site where you can order swags, not swags. Mhm.
I like this part of the demo because I can gift you a lot of things. So whatever you like, I mean, whatever I like, I can gift you. By the way, not you like. So sorry. Okay, so I have given you some hoodies, cups, mug. Oh, a lot of mugs. You enjoy. You like tea, right? Tea, coffee. Let's
Yeah,
go
a
and
cup
check
of
it out.
tea. That's a nice
Let's go
little
check out
generic
this
fun there.
one. Yes. So here is a fun part, right? Here is the discount coupon service which we added last time. And do you want to apply discount and see
Yeah.
how
So
much?
don't
10?
don't apply the discount yet. We can probably I mean when the moment you do disc -10, what it's going to do is it's going to apply the discount to your cart right now. But what we're going to do is it's a very hacky way to show you a transient failure. So what Vivek is going to do right now is he's going to add a code called fail, and then say how many number of times do you want to fail. So basically, when the coupon service is queried, it keeps failing for that many number of times. So don't do this in production. This is not what we recommend for you do in not just production, anywhere in the code, but this is just for learning purposes, because transient failures are something which it's very hard to kind of like reproduce. So we just wrote it in the code. So if you can see that it says fail space 2 space disk -10. So basically, whenever you apply discount code 10, it fails for 2 times. So you can just do a fail to discount 10 and apply. So when you do that, what it does is it actually configures 2 failures for discount 10. So now you go ahead and apply disk 10.
No,
You remove the fail too. Yeah, just remove the fail too.
And
yeah, just click apply,
It's
and you can see that it says find an internal server error again twice. once more, and
Yeah.
immediately it says internal server, and then again apply. So the third time it should work because the configuration just works, right? Now what we're doing is like there are transient failures, right? It can happen. So how do we kind of handle it? Like, how do we make sure, it's very transparent to the user that if the failures have happened behind the scenes, there are many ways to do that. One, we can say, okay, hey, we have kept it on the cart, come back and complete it later, or you can actually keep retrying behind the scenes for some time, and that's what we're going to look at. How do we implement that, right? So let's go ahead and implement that in code, and we can keep talking about the strategies that we will take there.
Sure. So you want to go to the exercise directly?
Yeah,
Or you want
you
to
can.
just spend
You
some
can
time
also
on the...
open the sec. So here you go. So there are failures that is happening. You can see that if
Oh,
you
you want to
open
see the
this,
sec.
yeah,
Yeah, it's here.
it's if you come
Refresh.
down, probably.
I think it need to be refreshed. I haven't set the sec for refresh. Is there a
Okay,
way
so
I
there
can
you go.
set
It's there. It's
for
there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's already there. So you can see that every time the discount is applied, it's actually throwing errors. So this is again another health monitoring system. You can use anything that works for you, like Azure Application Insights or anything. But this is really easy because we just do it within the same Kubernetes cluster. So this shows that how many times it failed and how it responded. Right now, what you can do is Vivek, you can go ahead and implement two strategies. So just go ahead and implement the strategy. So I'll explain that strategy while you do that because we just want to save some time.
Yeah. Let's implement
So
code base first.
yeah. So implementing code base strategy is we use a library called Poly, and Poly is a library in .NET which you can use to implement some strategies like circuit breaker, wait and retry, and things like that, right? So you can do it yourself if you want to, but this library gives really nice techniques to do it, and it also adds up to your HTTP pipeline, so you don't have to. You just have to add it to that, and it just takes care of everything, right? So the strategies that we're going to add is two. One is a retry logic, and then the second is circuit breaker. So we'll go ahead and explain both of it. Let's go ahead and implement a retry logic. So as the name says, again, as we say, when you say retry, if there is an error, what we need to do is, hey, let's go ahead and retry this. Like, let's not fail immediately. Instead, we will retry. See if if that service comes back again up online. If we are successful, we can go ahead and complete the transaction, right? So right now, what Vivek is doing is we have to implement that in our code. So he's actually navigating to the aggregator, so because that's where we're going to implement it. So we're going to add this package. So everything that you see here, it's all done in the Azure CLI, and we don't need you to come with a Visual Studio or installations. Everything just works in the browser. But the other side of this thing is everything is going to be CLI, command line driven. So you will have to copy and paste it correctly. So what we're doing is we're just adding a NuGet package so that we can go ahead and implement the code in the service, right? So that's something which we added there. Now you can do a pop D and then come back to the code.
So I should do pop D, right?
Yeah, you don't have to. I think if your code is open, then I think you can go and you don't have to do it now. You can actually go to the code.
Okay.
So type.
Code is not open, but anyways, we can do it.
Yeah. So you
I need to go
you
back.
probably did close that and then go back.
Can I close editor? I think pop D would be good. Can I do pop D here?
Yeah, sure.
And
yeah,
here
you can do it. Go to source. Yeah. Okay. Now if you go into the source directory and then go to the
which one we are editing API, this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So API gateway.
No, that's your current location. So if you come down,
oh,
so
this is current location. Sorry, we have to add it in the extension, service collection extension, right? Okay.
Yeah. Copy that code.
Web service.
I think it's in the aggregator, right? API gateways, and then.
Oh yeah, API gateways, aggregator, extension, service collection. Right.
So we are
Perfect.
implementing this in the aggregator. So that's the reason why.
Add
Okay,
get
so there you go.
retry policy.
Yeah.
Add get retry policy. It's here.
Yeah.
So we have already added those in
Code
the
comments there. Yeah, to help you. Yes. So there you go. So basically what we're doing here is adding a retry policy. Just one second, I'll just explain that. So you can see that, we are using the extensions methods and say, handle the transient HTTP error, and we're saying wait and retry. And if you can see that, what it is doing is within the same call, it is going to be retried. And will also say how many times do we want to retry, because you do not want to try retrying like for a number of times, because it will go in a infinite loop. So you want to specify a number which makes sense. And then we also do one more thing, is we also add an exponential backoff, which is a little bit of a jitter logic there, because every time if you immediately start hitting the server again and again, the chances are that you can get a denial of service, because you do not want to hit the server often. So what we need to do is instead we need to wait. And another nice way to wait is, instead of hitting it like you can make it constant, like every 2 seconds hit and see, or you can do an exponential backoff. It's a jitter logic. Say, okay, second time I did it, now I want to do the fourth time. I'll wait for 4 seconds. Now next I will do for 8 seconds. So you can actually add that wait time a little more depending on your business and scenarios, but you have these things already baked in for you. Okay, so they copy that code. Great.
Yep.
So that's the retry policy. And remember, that's just a helper method we just added. And the next helper method that we're going to add is a circuit breaker. Now, I think the word circuit breaker comes from the electrical engineering background. It simply means if a circuit is closed, that means when you're making a connection, the circuit is complete. So it will complete the connection, complete the call. If this connection, if the circuit is open, then it is not going to make the call at all. So it is going to immediately back off. So these two strategies are taken together and implemented in code. So we are actually doing, okay, we're going to do a circuit breaker after 15 tries, and we also specify a time span of about 15 seconds, right? So yeah, were you able to copy that code?
Yep.
You already copied and pasted that.
Add it in the add application service, right? In the same place.
That's where you register it. And there is also a comment there, register HTTP. If you go up a little bit,
it's up. Oh, I missed it. Is it?
Yeah, you missed it. So keep going up. So it was all. Yeah, here you go. So here, register HTTP services. Yeah, below that. Whichever HTTP client you're implementing. For example, we are going to implement it in the coupon service because we are only showing one service here. We're implementing in the aggregator, but we are implementing for coupon. So whenever coupon code is called, it is going to wait and retry, and it is going to do a exponential backoff, and it is also going to implement a circuit breaker.
You can add anywhere, right?
Yeah, but make sure you remove the semicolon from the line 47. Not that, line 47. That's the ending semicolon, so that's correct.
You want to remove this one also?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Only that one, not the other one.
Correct. This one should be there. Yes. Correct.
Yeah. So Vivek is new to .NET, so I'm actually helping him, and we are using an online editor that doesn't support IntelliSense or anything right now. So we're just going to try and see how good Vivek is as a developer to copy and paste code. Did you save it?
Yeah.
Okay. The next important thing is obviously adding the namespaces so that you have these codes available to you, right? So go ahead and do that. And that's about it. And now you can just go ahead and build it to make sure, it's building correctly. So if all the code changes that you did, if it works well, that means you're done great at copy pasting.
Should I go to this location and build it, or no? No.
No, you can. You're where are you right now? Come down.
I'm in source.
Yeah, you need to go into the aggregator and then build it.
Yep. Correct. Because we came back from there, so I just want to make sure we are there back, and then we do the build command. What is that? Okay, no restore.
We're going to do a no restore because we want the build to be faster, because we already added the extension package. So it should be fast in building this time.
And then we go back.
So basically, just to recap, what we did is we implemented two strategies for managing resiliency, and we specifically implemented only in the coupon service, and that too within the aggregator, because aggregator is going to make the calls to the coupons internally. So we implemented at the aggregator level. If coupon is failing, then aggregator shouldn't be responding immediately. Instead, it is going to retry for a couple of seconds, and then take an action. So because you're writing this in code, you can also write implementation. If there is, like, after 15 times, we don't want to make the user wait. It could be any business strategy that you can take. You can probably pick up a value from a cache and use it, or or things like that. Like, it depends. Again, strategies are depending on the business scenarios, right? So that's what we did right now. We just implemented retries and circuit breaker, and now that the .NET is built, right, it's 0 errors, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of magic is happening behind the scenes. We are showing you how to implement strategies, but majority of the things have been taken care internally, like creating the HTTP client and making sure you use the same HTTP client. So every subsequent request, it knows that it has retried for a couple of times, so it won't hit again. So now all those things are taken care here. So now, adding. That's all there. It's just you don't have to copy that. Just remove that.
Oh yeah, it's already there.
We're just showing you how this whole thing works. We are adding the application services, which internally adds these things, right?
Perfect.
Okay, now I think it's just about going ahead and building it to ACR. Yeah. So this application is working on Kubernetes, so we need to build Docker images. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Azure Container Registry. So first time, if you look at when we ran that script, we didn't show here, but when we run the script, it actually pulls all the images from our Docker Hub, because Docker Hub is a public container registry. So you have all the images there, and it actually sets up everything for you in the Kubernetes cluster. Now that you have modified the changes, it would be much easier to show you how to do it with the Azure Container Registry, because you can have the container registry, which is a private container registry, within the same infrastructure. So your AKS and the ACR will have a secure connection to pull in your images. So whatever changes you made now, we're actually building that only those images in the ACR, and then we will redeploy this back in the Kubernetes cluster, right? So that's the change that we are doing here. You want to explain anything about container registry, Vivek?
Yeah, I mean it's basically a repository to to host your package, which is an image in containers. You just want to host it somewhere so that we can share it and share it with privately. It's not public, so it's basically people can log in and use it and access it through the keys which is there. So that's what private registry mean. So that's it. So we can package our app and just host it in the registry, and we can reuse those packages and wherever we are deploying it.
Right. So just looking at the comments, it's interesting to see Mithun also. Hey, Mithun, also part of our community. Good to see you here. And had I known that you're going to join here before, I would have called you into the stream as well. But good to see you. And we also have Cecil. Hey, Cecil, very nice job. I'm wondering how come you are up and early. So Cecil, if you didn't know, he did a lot of .NET on .NET shows, and he's popular in the .NET community as well. Good to see you, Cecil. And I don't know what's keeping you up, but yeah, good to find you here. All right. So
I'm just going to deploy that to Kubernetes cluster.
Yeah.
So this is a command which we're going to get the
get the ACR.
the registry. So we just need to run that command here. So yes.
Yeah. So one more thing, quickly, Sharat says, please share the link of the document. I think he's talking about the MS Learn link.
Yeah, I'll share
so
now.
Sharat, we'll share that now. But also, if you look at the previous sharing, aka.ms/samosachai.net, that'll take you to the Cloud Skill Challenge. Within that, you can go to the resiliency module, and that will show you what we're doing right now. Okay. So the next
And
step
we are
that we
done.
did is we deployed it. Okay. Now let's go back and see
We have
where the
deployed it, and
kubectl stays
oh yeah, so
and
we
health
will
checks.
do kubectl get PO. Hopefully everything is running, and we will go to health check. It is still
Yeah, it's
getting it.
going to take a bit of
So-
time. So these are good monitoring tools to know that where we stand. The pods may be running, but probably the service is not ready to accept the traffic. So because every application will have its own time to boot up, so we look at these health checks to make sure things are working well. Okay, so
Let me
can you do a
refresh
kubectl get
this.
pods maybe, just to
did.
know that?
So
Yeah, but
it's
did you see the
basically
coupon
I
service
can.
running? Yeah, it's running. The
Yeah,
aggregator
everything
is
was
what.
running.
Okay. So that's just a
So
matter
this
of time then.
Yep.
Um,
Take some time.
yep. You can also refresh. You can just set that value to be refreshed 1 second. So
Yeah.
you can go back and say change.
I often forget that. I don't know why. Oh, again, I refresh.
Yeah, you're so used to
That's
refreshing. And
yeah, I'm so used to it.
yeah, this is what we are doing in the code, right? We're doing a retry. That means we are
Exactly.
refreshing, hitting again. Just okay. So let's hope that this is gonna come back in a few seconds.
So all
You
we're
did
going
the
to do
deploy.
is again
Yeah.
read. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did run the deployment code.
Okay.
It was.
Yeah, it's not up. See, if you see, look at the web shopping aggregator, it says 0 of 1. So it's not it up. Now it's 1, 1, 1. So now we can go to health check. Yeah, there you go. So that's green.
So it's all
So
up.
now
So
back-
everything is
yeah.
up. And let's
Yeah,
go here.
go-
Let's play around.
Yeah, go back to the
Should we-
basket maybe, because this order would have applied the coupon, right?
Yeah. So you need new stuff, no?
No. You can go back because these are microservices. They should work. If you go to the basket, you should see this orders, and click on checkout maybe, and see if yeah, there you go. So now you apply fail. No
What is
hyphen, just space. Fail
Oh,
to
yeah.
disten.
Failed to disten. Disten was applied, no? No, it didn't. We didn't apply it.
No, it won't be applied until the order is completed.
Until the
So
order is completed. So we'll
Yeah.
just apply, and
so we're configuring
Any
it.
failures,
It's again same techniques.
and
Yeah.
we'll just remove this and say apply.
Yeah.
It gets applied.
And now you
It
can
takes
see
some
that
time.
Yeah.
And
So
it gets
behind the scenes, okay, there you go. So you can see that behind the scenes, the error is being there. It's just that not erroring out immediately. Instead, if you go to the sec, you can see that these are being retried behind the scenes, right? You can refresh it, and you can see that every time there is a error. So you can see that retrying in
Retrying.
2.2 seconds. So there's an exponential retry that's happening, and that's what has happened here. So we successfully implemented it. We can go ahead and show you the circuit breaker also, but I would encourage you to go check that out yourself. It's very straightforward. You just have to repeat the strategy. But now what we're going to do is, because we are running out of time, we'll quickly go into implementing this using a infrastructure as a service, which is using a service mesh, right?
Yes. So
Sorry,
let's
infrastructure.
go
is
to-
fancy. I don't know why I said infrastructure as a service, but yeah.
So for this, we are going to use service mesh. Service mesh is basically nothing but a tool which it's basically a proxy instance of the container which you're going to install with the application, so that your network, which is basically, if you let me show you through a diagram as well, because that's the best
Do
way
you
to
want to
understand.
do a rollback immediately and then you can go and explain, because this
Oh,
is going
yeah.
to take time.
Oh yeah, let me do the rollback first. I forgot that we have a rollback here.
Yeah.
This
so
is the one, right?
yeah, what we're doing
Roll
here
it
is
back.
we are redeploying, like we are rolling back the images that we deployed. So simply, these are all magical scripts. You can go and look at it. So what it is doing is it's taking the variable as your container registry. So it is reverting back to the Docker Hub image, which was the earlier image. So without any retry logics or circuit breaker implemented in code, because this time we're going to implement in the infrastructure, not in the code. right? And it has its own benefits. So yeah, go ahead, Vivek. Now you can explain why how we are going to implement infrastructure based resiliency.
Yes. So service mesh actually provides you with a lot of things, right? So basically, how you can apply rules, policies, and also from security perspective, and also capture metrics. So it provides you with the a simple proxy. If you see here, we are using Linkerd as an example for this particular example for this particular module, but you can use any other service mesh as well. But if you see here in the data plane, control plane, I'm not going to going deep into the control plane of this. From a data plane perspective, for each application, you will have a proxy instance which is there. And from a code perspective, you're not making any changes to the code to build a resiliency or to apply policies or to security or to even collect metrics. You're not doing anything from a code perspective. There is a service mesh which has been installed, and this is the way the network, basically in and out of your transactions, is working through these boxes. And all you need to do is to just make sure that you call this particular container instance with your application pod YAML file, where you going to define all these things. So you just need to call this through a webhook which is available out there. So I'm going to show you that as well, doing it live. And that's what the service mesh will capture everything. It has a view of your infrastructure, and it
Mhm.
understands how the network is being, and what is the traffic, and it controls everything. And it can also be used in observability, right? Because it can capture the metrics, so it knows what it can do, right? So what you can do is you can apply a policy on this, saying that for this particular service, if there is some kind of failures or it is not responding, you can just maximum, you can add only 20% of the load which is coming in for this particular service. And then you can circuit break it, right? And that's what Linkerd does, and from a policy perspective. So we will apply that. Hopefully this has been completed. uh, this is
Yeah,
completed,
again, I
right?
think just to do just to give you an understanding of, service meshes are not about just resiliency. It gives you more features, like you can see the network plane, you will understand every service how it's working. It gives you a dashboard, it gives you observability metrics, it gives you MTLS. So there are a lot of features that come with it. We're just telling you that there is resiliency can be implemented in service mesh as well. You don't have to like, just because you want resiliency, you don't have to implement service mesh. But we're just saying that if you are taking advantage of the service meshes other features, then resiliency also comes with it, because that's, again, you're implementing like a policy in the configuration that's more in the infrastructure and not in your code. The advantage that you get with that is, like, you can have a Node.js application, a Java app, a .NET app, and these configurations are applied separately. So the code doesn't even know anything about it. And because everything is handled in the proxy, you, like, depending on the services that you're working with, they all can have similar strategy, or they can have independently different strategies too. And for service meshes to work, they need to be in the same Kubernetes cluster and things like that, right? So just remember that.
So I'm just testing whether we are reverted it or not.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is fail 2. Uh, just apply. It
Mhm.
will reply back. And even if I go and say discount
10. Yep. Yeah.
two
So you're
times, and then if I apply this, it should work, right? So yes, so we have reverted back. So all the changes which we had made, we have reverted the code. All we need to do is now work with three things which we need to do. From a Linkerd perspective, we had installed Linkerd CLI when we did the initial setup. That's what I showed you in the initial when we talked about setup script. So here we just check whether it is available for prep. So let us go and do it from a prep perspective. This is a command where it will check whether this particular Kubernetes cluster is ready for installing Linkerd control plane and rest of the things which is required for it. So it is anyways checking it, and once it checks, we will deploy Linkerd to this cluster. So while it is doing that, just note that we we are not just this one. These steps is just to get the linkerd installed, right? So all these things are just we are getting it installed, but there are a couple of steps which we need to do. That is to let know the service, which do we need to add that proxies to the service, right? So let us go back and do that as well. Once we do this check, hopefully this has completed.
Yep.
So it is completed, and then we will just go and do the check again so that it has installed it correctly and everything is working fine. And once it is done, we will go and do three things. One, we will make sure linkerd proxies containers are running with the two of the services which we are using, and basically we will add nginx ingress. So we, by default, linkerd don't have any ingress, and it works with most of the well-known ingress controllers. So here we are using nginx, so we are going to add that. We're going to specifically tell which service, which link, which service which needs to be accessed, which route this particular needs to be taken. So basically you're configuring ingress with linkerd and which route it needs to take, and we let by default linkerd don't know which service to circuit break, right? So you have to tell which service it needs to circuit break. So that is where a service profile is being used, where you are going to configure which service needs to be added here. For example, you don't want to do a retry on the payment service. That is not the service where you want to do a retry. So that is where that is where your differentiation is. So here we're going to add coupon service for the retry, and we're going to set it up, and we are ready to go and set this up front. So let's just go and make changes to the deployment. So we're going to add this annotation for Helm chart, which we have for a coupon service. Okay, there is, we have deployment. Let me go here. Let me reduce this. Let me go here. Helm simple for a coupon service. That is a deployment script. We need to add where? Template, under template. Here. I hope this is the right.
No, I think you need to
That's
move
what I
on.
was.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually copy it in full lines and then just move it, so that makes it easier.
Yeah, so this is correct now. So we have got we added it in the deployment script of the coupon service. This is nothing but a webhook to make sure that this container is also installed with the coupon service, and we're going to do it for the same for the web shopping aggregator, right? So that's the same injection. So simple way to do this is just copy this, go to where is it?
API gateway.
It's here, no?
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, the code was there. Okay.
I'm in this deployment. It's here. Done. I have saved it.
You saved both the files, right?
Yep. Yes. So we're going to do. So basically, we need to create the service profile. I did mention about it. So basically, in this service profile, if you see, we are mentioning which service, which path we need to do the, make sure that this has to be retried if there is some issue, and you're just, mentioning the path of the URL path. Basically, it gets added to the URL path, and basically you can also see that here budget, retry budget, and ratio. So this means that it will only apply for 20% of the request load which is already there on the system. So since linkerd knows what is the load on the system, because it is used as a proxy, it sees the traffic, it can see the traffic, so it can manage this automatically. So there is no change in the code. This is directly changing in the infrastructure side. It's handling the infrastructure side, right? So we are just mentioning about the path, we are just mentioning about the ratio, you can manage it here, and then maximum 10 per seconds you can retry as an additional thing which we are giving here. So this thing we just need to Sukupa service, I think it's already there. I
It's
don't
already
need to
there.
make
Yeah.
any changes. So it's in, where is it? Where is this?
So it should be the
Linkerd.
coupon. Yeah.
There is a
Linkerd
Linkerd.
coupon.
Okay. Coupon
No, it's Linkerd is
and
not open. Open the
oh
Linkerd
yeah,
folder. Yeah.
this one.
There you go. Yeah.
Perfect. This one. So it's already there. So nothing to, we don't need to do
Yeah.
anything. It's
Again,
already there. It's just for
yeah, just
information.
the retry budget is basically based, that budgeting technique is a little more advanced configuration strategy instead of just doing a retry and circuit breaker. The same thing can be implemented even in code. We just didn't show you today, but you can go ahead and check the poly libraries. There are advanced ways to implement retry logics in the code as well. Yeah.
I'm just going and applying those stuff here.
Yeah.
And the
So,
following output appears. So we also need to make sure that, as I told you, we need to configure the Linkerd with Nginx. Nginx gonna ingress, right? So let's go and configure that one as well while we run this.
yeah, those of you new to this world, ingress is nothing but how you it's an object of Kubernetes which basically accepts traffic from outside, and it takes it into the cluster. So this is all the gateways and all those things where we use ingress, and you can go ahead and configure it. And again, the routes and other things are also mentioned here only. So basically, this annotation is going to inject these values into the header.
This is correct, right?
Yep.
Sometimes this.
I think that looks good.
Perfect. Save. Oops. It goes outside.
Yeah.
Cool. I think we are almost done. We just need to deploy this.
Yeah.
And we just need to wait for.
Yeah, I have a question here.
And do the test.
It's an interesting question. I'll take that up as soon as you have some deployment script that's going to take more time. Okay, so let me take that question as you're doing that. Subhashish says, what is the difference between Linkerd with Dapper resiliency? Can we have both? If Dapper has resiliency, then why Linkerd? Okay, it's a very interesting question, and both of them, the reason that the confusion exists is because both of them uses a sidecar technique. So you have proxies and then doing the traffic. But the difference is service mesh is always on the network layer, and Dapper is more in the code layer, because Dapper is a runtime. So it is part of your code. So all those things that you're seeing, it's part of your code, right? So if you have all the things that is needed that service meshes offer, which is available in Dapper, like MTLS and things like that, you don't have to use both. You can just use Dapper, okay? And if you there are various reasons that you can choose service mesh. For example, your primary goal is to not kind of build those building blocks which Dapper provides, like pub/sub patterns and other connectivity that it provides. You don't need any of those things. You just want to watch the network and observability and then implement MTLS and things like that. Then service mesh alone is fine. There could be situations where you would want to use both. For example, situations where you have in corporate level network strategy that you want to apply. So that will happen at the network layer, and then you can have Dapper to do this. But don't like if you're implementing those resiliency at a service mesh level, don't do it in Dapper. So don't do these things together, but you can choose one over the other. But try to keep it like as much as if you're going for Dapper because it provides you with various other things like building blocks and other things, then I think you don't have to go with service mesh. So what I'm going to do is, and thank you, Mithun, for explaining that as well. I'll also link, I'm going to send you a link to the service mesh concept with Dapper. So you can take a look at that, and that will give you an idea about when to use what as well. Okay.
Yeah, and most important thing about Dapper and service mesh is that it's more of network. Service mesh is more of network, and Dapper is more of application. so basically, if I want to, share the details with Zipkins or Agar or different monitoring tool, observability tools, I can just use Dapper. And but the service mesh, you might not do that, because service mesh, the main goal is to build policies and these kind of circuit break and other things which is there, and also obviously you will send information back to the metrics perspective, but not maybe to different tools, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the thing. Oh yeah, so we are ready to go, so everything is back up online, so we are back. So you want to refresh this, or we just go there?
Yeah, you can
Oh,
just go
fine.
back and come back because we don't have a
Yep.
code written to unenable the coupon. So you can go back and
Yeah.
then come back to the basket.
Cool.
Uh,
Check out. So this will be pretty fast because it's infrastructure. So just take a look at this. We're going to do 10, fail 5, right? We're going to fail it for the 5 times and then just go and apply, right?
you need to remove the fail file. That okay? Yeah, that's true. Does not
Now
apply.
and apply. And it just applies. I mean, it's
Yep.
pretty fast.
Yeah, you can go back
And
to
if
the SIG, see
yeah, sick.
um,
I'm
the
here.
failures basically. Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
You see here.
the reason why it is fast is not because not because of infrastructure. I mean, I'll just clarify that because we have configured a retry budget. So within that budget, it is able to do that quickly. That's the thing, and you can implement that kind of a implementation even in code with Poly, because there we had exponential backoff, right? We were waiting for a few seconds to try again, so that was the delay. Just just throwing in there. Yeah.
Not the infrastructure for sure. Cool. I
Not
think we are.
because of infrastructure. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So anyways, so basically this is the learn module, and I'll just come back to the PowerPoint which I have. So this is a summary. Let's summarize, Nish,
Yeah.
what
So
we just
absolutely.
discussed.
Yeah, so we were quick because we incorporated celebrating 20 years with all the amazing community people. And but what we tried to cover here is the, strategies, important strategies, and why you should consider building or, handling resiliency. So we looked at those concepts. We looked at with no resiliency strategy, how the app behaved, and with the resiliency strategy, how the app behaved. And also this was more with the AKS and Kubernetes and things like that. So there are like, if you look for cloud related services where like service bus and things like that, there is resiliency implemented within that too. So you can take a look at how if you were to look at other external services that you depend on, how do you implement resiliency there. But the important aspect is to understand resiliency is not optional. You need to consider that the moment you start thinking about microservices or any services that are distributed in nature. So yeah, I think that was as a quick session with all the amazing people included. That's amazing.
So again, I just want to repeat, this is the Cloud Skill Challenge, which we have been running. And so basically all these modules which we are doing is available here. 64 days left to complete. Challenge yourself to complete all the modules. So that is what Cloud Skill Challenge means. Okay, so that's the link for the challenge as well on the screen. You can see that. And if you have any questions, uh, please type in those questions. We are here for 5 more minutes, right? And or maybe you can reach out to us on Twitter or LinkedIn, and we will be able to answer those questions as well.
Yeah, and all these cloud skill challenges covers those important aspects like resiliencies, logging, instrumenting a code, GitHub actions, which is DevOps, and like a lot of things. So it's really an amazing set of tutorials there to do it yourself and check it out. So don't wait for us to do it, because we're going to do it anyway with each session that we do. But go ahead and complete this challenge, and it will be awesome to see people complete them. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're good. We are way we're 15 minutes like over the time, but I think
Time.
yeah,
It's okay.
it's
We celebrated the birthday of .NET. We needed that, right? So
Yeah.
it was nice to
And
have
that's the whole thing about
all the
Agile, right?
leaders
It
here.
has to be ad hoc. It
Yeah.
has to be ad hoc. Like these plans happen like overnight, like 1 o'clock in the night. The decision was made that okay, let's invite more community people and amazing people who actually turned up and said yes, we want to do it. And so that's why we want to keep this such as a casual event series where we will have fun and learn. So I hope you all enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed delivering these talks. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Nish. Thank you, Rashmita.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
everyone.
everyone. Take care.